Hi, my name is Stuart Boss. I'm Vice President of the Sansin Corporation. Today we're going to show you how to stain this floor and clear coat it using Sansin Purity Interior Floor. We're going to show you all the tools and processes by which to do this very successfully at home. There are plenty of options for floors, but wood is one of the most beautiful. It's durable, it's beautiful, provides warmth, and we can clear coat it or stain it to provide any look we're after. We've got our tools, the brush, the tray, the stir stick, and most importantly the stain. We've selected Purity Zero VOC Special Walnut as the color. This is a really dark color which is going to make Zero VOC stain really stand out, because even in a dark tone, which is the most difficult to apply in any stain system, this product is going to go down uniformly, clearly, and evenly. We're going to mix this up, making sure all the colorants are evenly dispersed. So we've got the China bristle brush, a big heavy brush so we can put lots of stain down, keeping a fairly wet surface as we walk across the room. We're going to leave an even coat on, as this product will just dry evenly and perfectly as it goes into the surface. It's going to look really dramatic and dark as it goes on, but as it pulls in, it will clear up and bring the wood to life. So you should always leave it quite wet. Be careful not to spread it too thin, because then it'll become a little bit unmanageable. It is, however, very easy to go back to the surface and feather in a top coat in a uniform way. When you do your final finish, it's important to finish with the grain, just so there's zero streaking. Make sure you're keeping a nice wet edge, leaving a little bit of a wet film on top of the wood. And as you move across your room, you're going to come back and do a final brush, much like this. So if you're doing a really big room, you want to work from one wall to the other, being careful at the very end of your stroke to just kind of feather out the brush as you're moving across away from the wall. This becomes more important when you're applying your film finish or the top coat than the stain. This finish will take about 5-10 minutes or so to penetrate into the wood, and another 15-20 minutes or so to completely dry, depending on how thick you put it on, after which it can be top coated using Purity Floor. If, for instance, you get a spot over here that completely dries, you can quite easily brush that in at a later moment just by saturating the surface with some more finish. Again, make sure you've protected surfaces you don't want to turn brown, because the stains are very powerful and will quickly penetrate even a painted surface. Dark tones are the most difficult to apply. Light tones are much easier, and this is about as challenging as it's going to get. Even in a black ebony in Zero VOC stain, you can expect to get a very uniform, even color. You'll notice that this finish, as it dries, will look extremely distorted and even ugly during the drying process. After it's dried, it'll go to a fairly matte but very consistent, even finish. And once we put the clear coat on, it's really going to pop and bring out the character. For applying the stain, we recommend a brush or spraying the finish on and back brushing. Pads would tend to be a little bit more time consuming because they really don't hold that much product. And we're suggesting to leave a fairly wet film, as a dry surface would be too difficult to apply and manage. Okay, we're ready to apply our clear coat. We have all of the tools that were necessary here to do this job well. Some paper towel, a nice tray to work from for our paint pad. We've got our stir stick to make sure we stir the product well. And we've brought a few tools. We've got a paintbrush, our pad, a lamb's wool applicator. A T-bar is also a great application tool. Any of these are going to work well with the Sansin Purity Floor finish. This product is very easy to apply and will level down really nicely after a nice wet coat's applied. So we want to make sure we get enough on. So this is Purity Floor Gloss. We're using the gloss as the first and second coat to maximize the clarity and magnification of the grain. And we'll use either gloss or a semi-gloss as the final coat to control the sheen level. This finish is very easy to apply. It levels nicely. Any of the micro bubbles that might appear from the pad should pop. Depending on how soon you apply the finish after the stain, you may have a little color transfer to the pad or to the clear coat, so not to worry, it's very, very minimal. Always do your final strokes with the grain. Notice how it's really coming to life and how uniform and clear and crisp the color is. So there's no need to be intimidated by this finish. It's very easy to apply. Again, start at one end of your room. If you get stuck against a wall, just feather out the applicator like this, gently removing the pressure to allow the surface to level nicely. So you can also just pour the product on the surface and just move it around and level it out that way. It is possible to put too much product on. You want to stay beneath, well, ideally you want to apply it around 3 mils wet, 3 wet mils, and you can measure that with a wet film gauge. Ideally you'll work across the floor in a manageable way. You might work 2 or 3 feet at a time and doing your finish strokes from one end of the room to the other as you move across the room. Your second coat is going to give a lot more coverage than the first coat. Again, you're looking to apply around 3 wet mils. You'll find it spreads a lot easier because the first coat really did a lot of penetrating into the wood tissue. So we're still using the Purity Floor Gloss, which is going to maximize the clarity and transparency of the finish, really amplifying the grain. And we're going to do a final stroke starting at the wall and finishing at the other wall, making sure we level those puddles. So if you're looking to do the bare minimum, 2 coats is more than adequate in terms of protecting the wood and providing a nice sheen. If you are choosing to just do 2 coats, we recommend sanding after the first. The finish sanding should be done with 320 grit paper. Doesn't look like a very complex process. It's actually quite simple and really easy to get a professional finish. So we're going to use 320 grit sandpaper here. We're going to use it because it's a fairly small surface on by hand. We're going to do it by hand. On a larger surface, you may use a sanding block that's attached to a pole. We don't have to sand too heavy here. We're just looking to break down any fiber that might be standing up and take out any grittiness or contaminants from the surface before applying our final coat. So as you can see, the staining and finishing is really the easy part. The sanding and work that goes into preparation is where most of the labor comes in. We finished sanding it. It's feeling nice and smooth. We're ready for our final coat. We've chosen the semi-gloss formula for the final coat. We want to be really careful and a little bit strategic here as to how we finish up. If this is our room, we want to make sure the doors are locked leading into this room, that nobody steps onto a wet coat. We want to make sure the furnace is turned off or the vents are sealed so we can really prevent any type of contamination from landing in this final coat of Purity Floor. Okay, so we're ready to go. We've already got a little bit of material in there. We're going to add some fresh material. We want to make sure it's mixed well, and I think we're fine. I've installed a new applicator to the brush just to make sure we have no contamination left over from the previous coats applied to the floor. We want to make sure that we don't apply it too thick at this point. Just a nice, thin, even coat to ensure a nice, uniform gloss. Again, it won't take much product. Each coat uses less material as the surface gets smoother and smoother. Just looking nice and level. Keep in mind that the same points still apply. You want to move with the grain, keeping a nice uniform finish. This is going to turn out really nice. Thank you very much for following along. We appreciate you taking the time to follow these steps on Sansin Purity Floor and Sansin Purity Zero VOC Stain. As you can see, we got some great results in just half a day in the studio. This is something you can certainly do at home. Slightly bigger area than this would be no trouble to do in a day. We recommend waiting with the furniture till the following day, but as you can see, professional results aren't far away. I know your project at home is going to turn out even better, so please send us some pictures. We'd love to see them.